Okay, in this video, I think I made a video, I'm not sure if it was last week or whenever. I made a video. Embarrassingly enough, I can't find the associated file. I put a different file on the website there, a little mistake in it. I made a file that says, look, if you're going to take one of these interview tests, then just be able to do that one. No dates, no monthly stuff, no lookup functions, no scenarios, just basic, get it done, get the balance sheet balanced, go all the way. And we claimed we could do it in half an hour, and you had to hurry to get it done in that half an hour. Now I have to admit, I'm a little bit sad because I want to make bigger points in my life about project finance, the theory of project finance, how it's so unique and how corporate finance can be complete bullshit. Sorry to swear, but the reason I'm swearing, I'll tell you a little bit later. Okay? And that it's incredible when you see somebody bragging about one particular country being able to achieve high returns. That all that means is they're having high prices. And there's that relationship between price and rate of return. It's pretty obvious. Now in this, sorry about that's a little bit off track, and at the end of this video, I'm going to make another advertisement for my little tool to solve this circular reference, and I'm going to continue to do that. I'm never going to stop that. And of course, you can turn it off. Okay. Now, in this video, we're going to extend the last thing we did, and this time put dates. Now, I just made a 1-period construction period in this one because, and we don't have taxes, so in this case, there are no circular references. All right, that's the first thing. But I'm going to show you if you want to get to the next step. So if you are arrogant and think, I don't need to look at that first video. I can do that. I'm so good. I took a financial modeling in my class, and my teacher told me how to use the VLOOKUP function. Okay, sorry about that. Then I think that's an enormous mistake. You should turn off this video and learn how to practice the basic one. But in this one, we're going to do things on a month-by-month basis. That's fundamentally extremely easy. We're going to include some inputs, and don't worry about my little libel things or my little insert, insert and then a sparklines thing. You can go and look at that and practice that. We're going to put some inputs that vary by month, or other inputs that vary by the age of the project, degradation, I pretended, some inputs that vary by the calendar year, and some inputs that vary by the dates of the project themselves, like an interest rate that varies when certain milestones like the COD are met, and things like that. To do that, we're going to use some seasonal codes. We're going to do some indexing. We're going to do a little gimmick where we show what scenario we used. And here's an introduction. We're going to show you that if you ever use offset, don't! If you ever use VLOOKUP, of course, that's criminal. If you ever use match and index, that's almost just as criminal. If you ever use any fancy kind of Excel functions and you're an Excel show-off, be proud of yourself for a while, like I used to be proud of yourself, and then figure out that it's all crap, and you can use SUMIF really, really creatively. So we're going to show you in this video how to make a series of different scenarios, because I've seen some of these tests ask for scenarios. And then some of them ask for monthly information. So we're going to use lookup with an input S. And now I am sure somebody is going to tell me, oh, you idiot, you can't do input S like this. They all have to be exactly the same time periods and all that. And if it's a big, complicated model, I kind of agree with you. But for this kind of model, and for most of the models, it's totally fine. Just make anything that varies with time. You can't, of course, put in a single input like this. So we're gonna use a little code number to do all of that. And by the way, somebody said, quite rightfully so, that you should be using end of the month instead of beginning of the month. And I want to show you that I'm flexible and I'm not stuck in some bureaucratic horror, and that I am not afraid to say I was screwed up, I messed up, and I'm looking at other people's models and I'm going to adopt some things that make sense from what other people do. So I made some EO months here. If you can see F2, we can see, and we're going to start with that, okay? Whew, let me take a little breath and then we'll start. Okay, so if they ask you to make some scenarios, what you can do is and again, I stole this from other people, obviously. Up here, we can put a base case and whatever, alternative season. We can put a long life. We put, what else did I change? High inflation. What else I have to remember? We put worst degradation. And we're going to do all of those. I'll probably spell things wrong. I can use F7 now. And please don't start wasting time. Just do something like this, whatever. Okay, we can make them all wider, and we can go much further. And then simply, very quickly, put some scenario in here. I'm trying to avoid the typing as much as I can, and just put equal index. Oops, what? I'm in Trinidad, and I'm at this nice little hotel that, they have a little thing there that they won't let me out unless, it's all locked up, because they think, okay, and you don't care about any of that. So we'll put this in, and we made enough space, okay, and then just copy the whole thing down, okay, at least to here, and just hopefully they're all here. And again, please, it's so irritating when I see people try to do this little, make one of them wide, then the next ones won't be so wide. Let's make it a little wider to get that degradation on there. Okay, enough. And then we can put our alternative seasonal code here. And here, we just use the index function, and I'm going to put the number 2 for a code here. And if I change this code number to 2, and I strongly suggest you do not have a drop-down, horrible thing like this. What an idiotic thing to do is to put this stupid little data validation instead of using a thing here. And if somebody objects to that, tell them, I don't know what you should tell them to do, really. I would definitely say, okay, I know I shouldn't use these things all the time, but if I use this thing here, and I'm going to make this go from 1 to put 15, there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm going to just go to a different sheet first, back to the same sheet. That's what Tatiana told me about. in 2006 or something like that, and then I can get my different things. And then once I did it for this one, let's mess up the whole formatting. Let's just copy that all the way down. And don't worry about just Control D, copy it all the way down. Of course, as soon as you do that, you can take this whole column, copy that, and then Alt-EST, okay? And then we're going to have to delete a couple of these zeros, fine. Maybe you can, maybe somebody will tell me a nifty little way to put if it's a blank, then ignore it or something like that. But okay, good enough, I think, okay? And I'm taking too long, and I'm not starting to time myself yet. And I'm going to go, once we start, we're gonna do it much faster, okay? And then let's put an alternative seasonal code. So I put number 2 here. I'm so tempted to do a conditional formatting and show when we're changing the code or do some, and I'm not going to. And let's, for the long life, let's put 40 years here. And let's put, for the high inflation, let's put number 3 here. I think that's the high inflation. Whoops, 1 and 3. And of course you can combine these scenarios. And I think the worst degradation, I think, was 2. Now, here's what I did. In all of these, I have a little code for our seasonal factor. And this code number will be a different color. It comes from the input C. It comes from that input, and we just put equal index again. So we're using the index. This time you can see how I did my little Weeble distributions, and I'm tempted to show you that, but that would be a waste of time. And you can go and see how you can they're not very important. You can just put all kinds of different patterns in. So if I change my seasonal code here to 2, and let's put it back to the base case, let's put 2 in here, and then I will be taking the second number here, and I suppose I'm going to do this one. If I put 1, if I do something like this, Alt-EIS, and then I select this, this whole thing here. I told you I wasn't going to do this, but it's so easy to go to the home page, go to conditional formatting, make a new rule. When you make a new rule, go to the last one and put this little number up here. This is not the scenario. This is the code number. And you put an equal sign and you click on here and you say, I'm changing the row but not the column. So you press F4. So it holds the column the same, and then you quickly put a little format in, and you make sure that your format is not too strong, and you're finished, okay? And we can do that with absolutely everything. Why didn't, and then I should have pressed OK. So now you can't see it very strongly. I might have needed a stronger color. And we're taking that scenario. So that's how we connect everything to these numbers. And then you go one step further and you can say, oh, I don't know if I should do it with this one or not, but we're going to use the index. And again, I'm saying the index is kind of the scenario number. You could do this all with lookup, by the way. So somebody could say, you should do this with lookup. And I press F4, take this number and go up to this one, so I can kind of see what we're doing. So we're taking that one, and so I put those in 2. So if I put 1 here, we can kind of see that. I don't know if you like that or if you like something a little bit different for that. Okay, and then let's do the same thing for the degradation very, very quickly. Okay, we put the code number here, so we go to the degradation. That code number here comes from that number. Put equal index, and I'm sorry to now be kind of repeating, but we go up here, and we always press F4 for that one, copy that to here, Shift Control P, Shift Control R. Okay, and the inflation rate we'll do by
calendar year, F4, and then that's as simple as that. And we'll put this in Shift Control P, Shift Control R. I didn't bother to do it with the interest rate. We're going to do the S-curve next time when we address circular references. And I'm just going to do this one more time because it's not really, it's so repetitive, it's not worth it. So on the degradation, we can put this in and go up to this one. And don't forget to do this. And I have maybe too long of a descriptions here. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, I could have pressed Shift Control R. All right, and let's not do it for the rest of it. Okay, so that's our index function. We checked off that one. Now let's go and begin the modeling. When we begin this modeling, okay, I'm just getting ready because I'm going to, we're going to put monthly dates. We're going to use the lookup like crazy and never use the F4 and bother with the F4 and the lookup. We're going to do, when we get down to the repayment, it's going to get a little tricky because we're going to make a monthly model, but in our monthly model, we want to repay, and this is, I wasted a little time on this. We start repaying right at the date of the first operation date. Whoops, I have a little thing here. The first operation date was 1 February 25. We started our model at the very midnight after our Excel party that we had for New Year's Eve, when we talk about not using match and index anymore. We go to 31 January 25. That's when we stop our construction, so we start our operation on this period, and we use the EO month, and I think I like that better. And I did a little test here with oops, oh no, where did I get this? Oh, I did a little test with date diff, and made sure that I had the exact number of months right up here. We don't really need these ones. These are kind of obsolete from our last period. I'm going to leave them just for a second here. And then all of our inputs are kind of from before, but we have some inputs that we're using. Now, when we get to this start of repayment, I have to count on my fingers. I cannot do this. February is when we start that's the end of the first month of that's the end of the first month when we're having our operation. So we have February, March, April, May, June, July. Just a minute. February, we pay in it, we take the whole month of February, the whole month of March, the whole month of April, the whole month of May. June comes next. We got 5 months, a full 5 months. And then we go to the end of July, and that's where we have to make our repayment. Whew. Why that take? And to do that, I have to, up here, put 5 instead of 6. And somebody can tell me, and then I go to the next period and put my 6 months. And that's how I get started. And I've tried so many different things, and again, the only experience I have, I don't want to be an Excel show. I don't want to be arrogant. I want to be the opposite from arrogant. Please. I want to say, I don't know anything. I make mistakes. I'm screwed up. I drink too much. All my problems. But I don't really drink that much. I promise, okay? And then Control-Alt-C. Let's just get this stupid thing formatted. So let's reset the colors, and then obviously I've got the generic macros open, and then I'm going to color the sheet. And did I put a top thing in or a sum in? I hope I didn't, but I might have. Okay, well that doesn't look that bad because PricewaterhouseCoopers PwC said, oh, appearance is a big deal. Okay, and then we can do the same thing for input S, but when we do that one, let's not even put something at the top here. And then I hope I didn't have a sum thing, okay? And maybe that's taking us too long. We're going to say, oh, I don't want to do it. I don't want to take it that long. And okay, I couldn't waste more time on this. And now let's go into our model. Now I'm leaving what we had originally, and then I'm going to mess everything up. But I'm leaving some of these things so I don't have to waste time. Now I'm going to, here's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to stop talking, and now we're going to put it on double or triple speed, and I'm going to start typing. So I get to stop talking. How wonderful. So I'm going to put the audio all the way.
Okay. Whoops. Oh shoot. I hope and so let me make sure I have that right. And so we're just using Shift Control F3 once we have the dates in, and then we're just making a regular old flag. And the second flag we use with the operation flag. We put those dates in, and we get and we make a monthly flag, okay? And you can look at the file, and I better find this file this time. I better not delete it. I hope this is better, and I hope I can go quickly. And I just tried to show you the file. I pressed Shift Control B with the wonderful little generic macros. Let's go fast. We can talk fast, okay? And I had to make sure that we went all the way to the end. And I had a couple of problems with this. I remember we went all the way to the end. And we've got our flag setup. Not so different. And then I had a couple of problems with copying, but essentially we're just multiplying things by the flag, but then we have to put the seasonal factor in, and we had a annual output like you could have for a solar project. And then you put the seasonal factor in, and you use the lookup with the seasonal factor. Oh, but before that, I had to put the month and the year. And then we look up on the year. Sometimes we'll look up on a month. Sometimes we'll look up on a year, calendar year. Sometimes we'll look on the age of the project. And then we can multiply the annual generation by the monthly factor. And I had to copy a couple of those across. I remember I screwed that up. And good, when I screwed things up, doesn't look quite as bad if you go really fast, okay? I need to stop talking about modeling so much and talk about my theory again, because I got to tell you a story about that, but I don't have time to do that. Now we're going to put our annual inflation rate in and use a lookup, but this time we look up on the year. Oh, good, not so bad. And then we look up just right there, and we do it really, really fast, and then we change our annual inflation rate to a monthly inflation rate. Don't divide by 12, raise it to the 1 divided by 12 power, and put an index in. I can almost take a breath, but I can't really. And then we'll go to our price of hydrogen, because we are getting our price, and multiply that by the inflation index, and we did all that fine because we've done it all monthly. We do almost the same thing with the electric expense, and we're just kind of having some lookups so far, okay? And then we made it all the way through, so it wasn't a big deal to switch up from our monthly to our annual. I think I did something really bad on the electricity expense. I forgot to take it and multiply it by the monthly. I left it multiplying by the annual, so we got a crazy answer just in a minute. When you use the IRR, you use the XIRR instead of the regular IRR. That's at least one way to do it. If you'd had some zeros right at the first, you'd have to put a comma zero. So I had to copy across a couple of times. I'm glad I made a couple of mistakes there, so we're down there, okay? And there's our project IRR. It's too high, but I forgot to put the degradation in. We're going to put the degradation in a minute. And now we put the repayment period, and this is the big deal. Start by putting a repayment flag. This flag depends on the months. Oh, and I almost tried to put a D, but you go to the month of the repayment. You have 2 repayment dates. Remember, we had 2 repayments. I didn't put the others. And then you use the OR. And then you can get the repayment flag, but then multiply that by in this case, I multiplied it by the operation period, which was a mistake. I should have made another one. And then you use a counter, and a counter is a big deal. A counter, there, you saw it. I tried to do it slowly. You go backwards one. I should have almost stopped the video for this. And then you can get the regular old CFADS, which is revenues minus expenses, but then to get the CFADS at the repayment date, you use the counter first and then go up to the same counter itself. And now you can see, oh, that was kind of cool. And then it just summed up this. But then you multiply that SUMIF by a flag. That's the big SUMIF. I'm going to do that a couple of times. Oh my gosh. And then we'll put a repayment period, and then we can take our DSCR and then just divide the what did I do here? Just a minute. We get the monthly interest rate, but that's not right. You need a semi-annual interest rate, and I made a mistake on here too. I remember this mistake. Good. Right now it's got the annual interest rate. Okay, but let's put a monthly interest rate, and then below that we'll put a semi-annual interest rate. Okay, and the semi-annual interest rate, I think I just divided by 2. The monthly I did 12, the semi-annual I divided by 2, and then I used a SUMIF the same way. You use that counter, use the counter, use the counter, use the counter, and then you go back up to that same counter. So you SUMIF the whole line of the counter, and then you put a comma and go to that same number on the counter, and then you can multiply the final number. Now there's a little mistake there. That semi-annual interest rate is a 0, but okay. And then, we forgot to put the end of the repayment, the whole repayment period, and that's what I did there. So we went to 18 years and put the whole repayment, and then we should have started right at the top with a repayment flag. Of course, I put it too low there because I need to practice this a little bit more. And then we're going to use the AND statement and get the repayment period. And oh, there, I put it at the top, good. And we use the AND on the end date this time. It's got to be greater than or equal to that one. And the AND has got to be less than or equal to the other one with the F4, of course. And I couldn't find the F4, Shift Control P. Oh, I did a sum and we did something wrong. So, oh, shoot, that shouldn't have been that 30 periods. It should have been another one. So I fixed it. I forgot how I fixed it. But then we have the repayment period. And then when you put that new flag in, you multiply that repayment flag by the period, not the operating period. And then we can now do this one. We can add the semi-annual interest rate, and then to get our, I'm sorry, we get a oh Jesus, we get oh God, we get a little index, okay, and then you're going to take the target debt service to use the SUMIF function divided by the index, and I did something wrong. Luckily, we'll put 15 years in and make sure we got the right thing, and then we put the opening, closing balance. That's what we did last time, but this time on the interest, you got to be a little bit careful. You can put the interest accrual. You can do that month by month, but then you've got to do the SUMIF thing where you're going to use the counter again. You're always going to use that counter, the same thing, and then go up to the whole line for the interest accrued. So you sum across. That's the big SUMIF trick, and for me it's so important to be able to do that, and if you can practice doing that really quickly. We wanted to practice the other stuff. Oh, we got a circular reference, and don't worry about that circular reference, because if you use an if statement, you get that circular reference on these ones. I've got it before. Just use an if statement, and only don't multiply it by the repayment. You put an if before the repayment. It's a little trick that's actually very helpful. Okay, and then I paused the video for a minute here, but because we needed a sum if on the properly. I had a interest rate before I didn't sum it correctly over 6-month periods, and then we use a lookup for the test. So you look up on the end date and make sure the closing balance, and you go all the way to the top and use that closing balance and make sure it all equals 0. And I kind of like this going quickly, because then you don't have to suffer. If you're going to actually watch this video, you don't have to suffer through the horror of the whole thing. Now when we get to the dividend, we can put a cash flow and recognize we only pay that dividend every whatever, the 6-month period, until you get to the end, and at the end you're allowed to pay it monthly. And if you're doing it a little fancy, you can do that. And then so we really need to almost make a little flag there. And when we make a little flag there, right now I can't see what I'm doing, but that's okay. We make a flag there and make sure that flag I tested switches. So we want to make it a semi-annual before, and then we want to make it monthly afterwards, okay? After the repayment is finished. We're going to be allowing the dividends to occur. I suppose if you would do some sort of reconciliation. That counter is really important. You notice how I went backwards on the counter. You put an equal sign, you go back one to the counter, but then you count from the prior period, not the current period. Okay, and then you can see after the repayment period I made a mistake, and then I fixed that mistake, okay, and I had 2 of them there, and whatever. So it goes one by one after that. And then once you have that counter, then you can say, okay, let's take that cash flow and let's use a SUMIF again and look the SUMIF, the whole repayment period, and then all that stuff, and multiply it. I multiplied by the operation period, but I should have done it by there's the counter, go back up to the counter, and then go to that one and multiply it by that one. Now we're paying dividends semi-annually and then monthly. Okay. Now, then we're we're computing the XIRR, and I got too big a number, and I didn't like that big number, but I didn't put the degradation in, so we got to go back and put the degradation in, And I was going to go change some stuff here and leave the video on. I should have turned the video off here, but we'll make that. So I did turn it off here. Then let's put the life. The degradation depends on the life. It doesn't depend, and we could have a varying degradation. So you go backwards one, and then you use the life in years, and whenever you put the life in years, you use the round up. And when you use the round up, divide it by 12 and round it to up to the nearest 0. I forgot to put the round up. And then you get 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, and then you can take that if you have a degradation that changes for some reason based on the project life. So we did a lookup first on the we did one on the dates, we did one on the months, we did one on the years. So we use all those things, and I again I really believe so strongly in just using the whole whatever it is, the whole line. And I know somebody told me, some really nice person from Bahrain told me, no, my boss doesn't let me do that. No, I'm not allowed to do that. I don't know why. Okay, theoretically you could have something in between, and then we put our electricity expense multiplied by the amount after the degradation, and that when in hydrogen the degradation works by, you have to, it's like you're getting fatter and fatter and fatter as you get older and older and older. You need to eat more and more and more just to get things done, and so I did some formatting, and then we're finished. And now, just a minute, now we're putting the balance sheet in, and yes, we're doing some depreciation. I'm putting, notice this time I just finished it because I wanted to show that we get all the way down to the balance sheet, and it's all the same. The only kind of small difference is you have some taxes, cash balance while you're in between the dividend period, and then you can look at that cash balance, and I can't quite see what we're doing now, and so we're looking at the cash flow statements. Just a minute. Oh, come on. And I hope I didn't screw up my timing on this whole thing. Okay, and then we put, I'm just showing some dividends, cash balances, and all the rest of it. Okay, and that is my description, and I'm tired of this. Okay, here's the advertising part of the video. Okay, the last time I described just the dramatic speed at which you can improve the copy paste and the goal seek. This time I'm showing you how to implement the model, and how it's not that big a deal. It is a little bit, but not a big deal to implement the model. So you start with your basic model, and then you find the template model, and I put some template models on for free, totally for free, on the website. Okay, and then I've got to look at this. So then what you do is you just take, once you have that model, all you do is you take the, oh gosh, you put the, you look at the model. That idea of that last thing was just to show you, you look at that template model, and then after that you take that template model and you connect it to your model with this little macro I made. It's all totally transparent. You can see how I did that. And now what you're doing is copying you're copying the template model into your model. And when you do that, what happens, it sticks a couple of pages on the very end, okay? And that's all you need in order to get it. You can see that thing called UDF inputs and UDF outputs, which is now part of your model. Okay, now once you've done that, you just connect stuff. But before I do that, I showed you a couple of switches and flags that I think are really important. So you can always, if you don't like this little UDF thing in your model, you can always turn it on and turn it off. So those are the flags. When you leave it turned on, you can see there's a little box that comes up that says you're running the model, but that can be turned off. So before linking the model, you just have some data in here, and then you go and you just link things like EBITDA, CapEx, interest rates, the tenor of the debt, your target DSCR. You link all of that stuff from your model into that page called UDF inputs, and that's it. And then I'm continue linking a few more things, okay, and let's continue linking that stuff and find the rest of it, okay, and I hope I'm going to be finished pretty soon here, okay, so we're just linking from your model to the UDF inputs page. That's the next part, and again, I'm just trying to show you that it's not a big deal. Remember how dramatic the speed was. And then you just run the model, and there's a UDF output page, and that UDF output page can be reformatted, and you can make whatever colors you want. I think I put kind of a summary page in there, and then, I'm showing how to format that output page. That output page will be all automatic. That output page, if you have any circular references, there will be never ever a copy and paste. It'll be solved with iterations within Excel, which goes dramatically faster. That's the whole idea. So in this case, we're just looking at a couple of the outputs, and then we're going to finally connect those outputs back to the back to any circular references you had in the original model. Oh, I even said it there. Okay, so now we're back in the original model. We find the things that created the circular reference. Maybe you have it on a page. We're going to link things like the IDC and the fees and everything else. We're going to link all of those back to the to that UDF output page. And what I sometimes do is put that UDF output page in just one little tiny page, and then I'm showing you kind of all of the outputs that you're linking. Now, once you've done that, you can, of course, now keep the old copy-paste, but you can also just use the parallel model and know right now, so I'm running scenarios and there's no copy and paste to do. You do that all in front of your, whatever your investment committee, and then you can change you can have a different debt schedule on that too. Let's stop.